The rain fell hard on the broken streets of the capital city. Taiho pulled his torn jacket tighter and moved through the shadows. He was a scavenger, one of thousands who survived by finding old things in the ruins and selling them for food. It was not a good life, but it was the only life he knew. The Dominion had ruled this planet for 200 years. They were tall creatures with gray skin and 4 arms. Their ships filled the sky. Their soldiers walked the streets. Humans were nothing to them. Just workers. Just slaves. Just forgotten people living in the dirt. Taiho was 32 years old. He had never known freedom. His parents had never known freedom. Their parents had never known freedom. That was simply how things were. The Dominion owned everything, and humans owned nothing. Tonight, he was searching through a collapsed building on the edge of the old district. This area was forbidden. The Dominion had blocked it off years ago, saying it was dangerous. But Taiho knew the truth. They blocked it because this was where humans had lived before the conquest. There were secrets here. Old secrets. He climbed over broken walls and pushed through piles of stone. His flashlight was weak, the battery almost dead. He needed to find something valuable tonight. His sister Yuna was sick, and medicine cost more than he could afford. Yuna was the only family he had left. She worked as a medic in the underground, helping injured humans who could not go to Dominion hospitals. She was kind and brave, and Taiho would do anything to protect her. He moved deeper into the ruins. The air smelled old and wet. Water dripped from somewhere above. Then his foot hit something metal. Taiho stopped and looked down. There was a box buried under the rocks. It was made of a strange black material, smooth and cold. He had never seen anything like it. His heart began to beat faster. This could be valuable. This could be the thing that saved Yuna. He pulled the box free and brushed away the dirt. There were symbols on the lid, but he could not read them. They looked like nothing he had ever seen. Not Dominion writing. Something older. He opened the box. Inside, wrapped in cloth that had somehow not rotted after all these years, was a sword. Taiho's breath caught in his throat. He had never seen a real sword before. The Dominion had taken all human weapons centuries ago. Possessing any weapon was punishable by death. Possessing a human relic was even worse. But he could not look away. The sword was beautiful. The blade was long and straight, made of metal that seemed to glow faintly in the darkness. Strange symbols were carved along its length, similar to the ones on the box. The handle was wrapped in leather that felt warm under his fingers. He should leave it. He should bury it again and walk away. That was the smart thing to do, but something stopped him. Something in his chest. A feeling he could not explain. It was like the sword was calling to him. Like it had been waiting for him. He picked it up. The moment his hand closed around the handle, he felt a pulse of warmth travel up his arm. It was not painful. It was almost comforting. Like meeting an old friend. Taiho shook his head. He was being foolish. It was just a sword. Old metal and leather. Nothing more. He wrapped it in his jacket and made his way out of the ruins. The walk home took an hour. He stayed in the shadows, avoiding the Dominion patrols that moved through the streets. Their armored vehicles hummed past, searchlights cutting through the rain. Taiho pressed himself against walls and waited until they passed. When he finally reached the small room he shared with Yuna, she was already asleep. Her face was pale, and she coughed even in her dreams. The sickness was getting worse. Taiho sat in the corner and looked at the sword. What was he going to do with it? He could not sell it. No human trader would touch something like this. The risk was too great. But then an idea came to him. A desperate idea. The Dominion sometimes gave rewards to humans who turned in forbidden items. They called it being a good citizen. Most humans called it being a traitor. But the rewards were real. Food, medicine, sometimes even better housing. If he turned in the sword, maybe they would give him enough medicine to save Yuna. He did not sleep that night. He sat and watched his sister breathe and thought about what he was going to do when morning came. He made his decision. He wrapped the sword in cloth and walked toward Checkpoint 17, the main entrance to the human district. Dominion soldiers stood guard there, checking everyone who came and went. Their weapons were always ready. Their eyes were always cold. Taiho's hands were shaking as he approached. He told himself it was the right thing to do. He told himself Yuna was more important than some old relic. He told himself the human pride meant nothing when your sister was dying. The soldiers stopped him at the gate. They were tall, towering over him like gray mountains. Their armor was black and covered with symbols of the Dominion Empire. "What do you want, human?" one of them asked. His voice came through a translator, flat and without emotion. Taiho held up the wrapped bundle. "I found something. In the old district. I want to turn it in and—" The soldiers looked at each other. One of them laughed, a strange clicking sound. "A good human," the first soldier said. "How rare." They called for their commander. A few minutes later, a vehicle arrived, and Commander Drell stepped out. Drell was different from the regular soldiers. He was older, his gray skin marked with scars from old battles. He wore medals on his chest and carried himself with the confidence of someone who had never lost a fight. He was known throughout the human district as a cruel officer who enjoyed making humans suffer. "Show me," Drell commanded. Taiho unwrapped the cloth and held out the sword. For a moment, nothing happened. Drell reached for the weapon, his four hands moving with practiced speed. Then the sword began to glow. The symbols along the blade lit up with golden light. The glow spread from the blade to the handle and then to Taiho's hand. A deep humming sound filled the air, growing louder and louder. Drell stopped. His hand hung in the air, frozen. The soldiers behind him stepped back. Their weapons began to spark and fail. Their armor made strange sounds, systems shutting down one by one. The glow grew brighter. The humming became a roar. And then the Dominion warriors did something Taiho had never seen them do in his entire life. They ran. They turned and fled, abandoning their posts, their weapons, their commander. They ran like frightened animals, screaming in their alien language. Drell stood alone for one more moment, his eyes wide with something that looked like terror. Then he too turned and ran, leaving his vehicle behind, leaving everything behind. Taiho stood at the checkpoint, holding a glowing sword, completely alone. He tried to drop it. He tried to let go, but his hand would not open. The sword had bonded to him. And somewhere deep inside, he felt it speak to him. Not in words, in feelings, in memories that were not his own. It had been waiting. For 200 years, it had been waiting. And now, finally, it had found him. Taiho stood frozen at the checkpoint. The rain had stopped, but water still dripped from the broken buildings around him. The glow from the sword was fading now, slowly returning to normal. But the damage was done. He looked around at the empty guard posts. Weapons lay scattered on the ground where the soldiers had dropped them. Commander Drell's vehicle still hummed with power, its door hanging open. It was like everyone had simply vanished. His hand finally relaxed, and he was able to move the sword again. But he could not let go of it. Every time he tried to drop it, his fingers refused to open. The sword had become part of him. Taiho did not understand what had happened. He did not understand any of this. He was just a scavenger. He was nobody. Why had the sword chosen him? But there was no time to think about that now. Soon more soldiers would come. Soon, the entire Dominion army would be looking for him. He needed to run. He grabbed a bag from the abandoned checkpoint and stuffed some food and water into it. Then he wrapped the sword in cloth again and ran toward the old tunnels. The tunnels were beneath the city, built long ago by humans before the conquest. Most people had forgotten they existed, but scavengers knew about them. They used them to move unseen, to hide from patrols, to survive. Taiho found an entrance behind a collapsed wall and climbed down into the darkness. The air was cold and damp, and the only light came from small glowing plants that grew on the walls. He moved quickly, putting as much distance as possible between himself and the checkpoint. After an hour of walking, he stopped to rest. His legs were shaking and his heart was still pounding. He sat against the tunnel wall and tried to calm himself. What was he going to do? He could not go home. The Dominion would be watching his room. They would arrest Yuna to get to him. His sister, his only family, was now in danger because of him. He buried his face in his hands. This was not supposed to happen. He had just wanted medicine. He had just wanted to save his sister. How had everything gone so wrong? A sound echoed through the tunnel. Footsteps, many footsteps, coming toward him. Taiho grabbed the sword and pressed himself against the wall. His heart beat so loud he was sure they could hear it. Lights appeared in the distance. Flashlights moving through the darkness. He could see figures now, at least 10 of them. They were humans, not Dominion soldiers. But that did not mean they were friendly. "Stop right there," a voice called out. It was a woman's voice, strong and commanding. "Put down the weapon." Taiho looked at the sword in his hand. "I cannot put it down. It will not let me." The figures stopped. There was whispering among them, words he could not hear. Then the woman stepped forward. She was tall for a human, with short black hair and eyes that seemed to see everything. She wore old military clothes, patched and repaired many times. A scar ran across her left cheek. "You are the one from the checkpoint," she said. It was not a question. "The whole district is talking about you. They say you made the Dominion run." Taiho shook his head. "It was not me. It was the sword. I did not know what happened." The woman studied him for a long moment. Then she looked at the weapon in his hand. Her eyes went wide. "Where did you find that?" she asked, her voice suddenly quiet. "In the old district. In the ruins. I thought I could sell it or turn it in for medicine. My sister is sick." One of the men behind the woman stepped forward. He was old, with white hair and a bent back. But his eyes were sharp and bright. He stared at the sword like a man seeing a ghost. "It cannot be," the old man whispered. "After all these years, what is it?" Taiho asked. "What is this sword?" The woman and the old man looked at each other. Some silent message passed between them. "My name is Yunji," the woman said. "I lead the resistance. And this is Hyan, our historian. You need to come with us." "Why should I trust you?" Taiho asked. "Because right now, the Dominion is turning the city upside down looking for you. They have already arrested 200 people. They are offering a reward larger than anything I've ever seen. And they have taken your sister into custody." Taiho felt his blood turn cold. "Yuna? They have Yuna?" Yunji nodded. "She is alive. They are holding her to draw you out. If you go to them, they will kill you both. If you come with us, maybe we can save her." There was no choice. There had never been any choice. "Take me to your base," Taiho said. They walked through the tunnels for hours. The resistance members surrounded him, watching him with a mixture of fear and wonder. They whispered to each other, pointing at the sword. Finally, they reached a large underground chamber. It had been a train station once, in the days before the conquest. Now it was filled with beds, supplies, and people. Hundreds of humans lived here, hidden from the Dominion. Unji led Taiho to a small room at the back of the chamber. Inside, there was a table covered with old papers and books. Hyan was already there, pulling out documents with shaking hands. "Sit," Yunji said. "We have much to tell you." Taiho sat, the sword resting across his knees. It was quiet now, no longer glowing, but he could still feel its presence in his mind, like a voice just beyond hearing. Hyan spread the papers on the table. They were old, the writing faded and hard to read, but Taiho could see drawings among the text. Drawings of swords. "Do you know why the Dominion conquered our planet?" Hyan asked. "Because they are stronger than us," Taiho said. "Because they have better weapons and bigger ships." "No," Hyan said. "That is what they want us to believe. But it is not the truth." He pointed to one of the drawings. It showed a human warrior holding a glowing sword, stabbing against creatures that looked like the Dominion. 300 years ago, humans were one of the most feared species in the galaxy. Not because of our technology. Our technology was not special, but because of something inside us. Something the other species did not have. "What?" Taiho asked. "Will," Hyan said. "The human will to survive. The human refusal to surrender. Other species could be conquered and broken. Humans could not. No matter how many times we lost, we kept fighting. We kept standing up." He pulled out another paper. This one showed a forge with humans working around it. Our ancestors learned to use that will. They created weapons that were connected to the human spirit. Swords that responded to emotion, to determination, to the will to fight. They called them the bonded blades. Taiho looked at the sword in his hands. "This is one of them?" "Yes, there were 12 in total. 12 swords, each one bonded to a human warrior. With these weapons, our ancestors fought the first war against the Dominion. And they were winning. Then why did we lose?" Taiho asked. Hyan's face became sad. "Betrayal. Some humans chose to serve the Dominion in exchange for power. They told the enemy where the blades were hidden. They helped destroy our warriors one by one. When the last sword was lost, our people had no way to fight back. The conquest was complete." Yunji spoke up. "The Dominion did not just defeat us. They erased us. They destroyed our history, our records, everything that told us who we really were. They wanted us to believe we had always been weak, that we were meant to be slaves." Taiho felt anger rising in his chest. His whole life, he had believed he was nothing. His whole life, he had lived in fear and shame. And it had all been a lie. "Why did the sword choose me?" he asked. "I am nobody. I have never fought anyone." Hyan smiled softly. "The bonded blades do not choose warriors. They choose people with the will to become warriors. The sword saw something in you, Taiho. Something you do not yet see in yourself." Taiho thought about his life. He thought about all the times he had wanted to fight back but had been too afraid. All the times he had lowered his eyes when Dominion soldiers passed. All the times he had felt shame burning in his heart. Maybe the sword was wrong. Maybe it had made a mistake. But then he thought about Yuna, his sister, taken by the enemy, waiting for him to save her. He looked at Yunji. "Can we rescue her?" Yunji studied him for a long moment. "It will be dangerous. The Dominion will be expecting us. Many people could die." "I do not care about the danger," Taiho said. "She is my sister." For the first time, Yunji smiled. It was a small smile, barely visible, but it was there. "Maybe the sword was not wrong about you after all," she said. "Rest now. Tomorrow, we plan." That night, Taiho lay on a small bed in the corner of the chamber. He could hear the sounds of hundreds of humans around him, breathing, talking, living. They were all hiding from the same enemy. They were all waiting for the same hope. He held the sword close to his chest and closed his eyes. Tomorrow, everything would change. He could feel it. The sword had awakened. And something inside him was waking up too. The next morning, Taiho woke to the sound of voices. The underground chamber was alive with activity. People were moving supplies, checking weapons, and gathering in small groups to talk. The air was thick with tension and something else. Something that felt like hope. Yoonji found him eating a small meal of dried rice and water. She sat across from him, her face serious. "We have news," she said. "Your sister is being held at the Central Detention Facility. It is one of the most guarded buildings in the city. Can we get her out?" Taiho asked. "Not directly. The facility is too strong. But there is another way." She pulled out a small map and spread it on the table. "The Dominion is moving supplies through a depot on the edge of the city. If we attack the depot, they will send reinforcements from the detention facility. That will give us a window to get your sister out." Taiho studied the map. The depot was marked with a red circle. The detention facility was across the city, marked with blue. "How many people will we need?" he asked. "For the depot attack, about 50. For the rescue, only 5. A small team moves faster and draws less attention." A young woman appeared at Yoonji's side. She was small but strong, with fierce eyes and hair tied back in a tight braid. She looked at Taiho with curiosity and something like distrust. "This is Sujin," Yoonji said. "She will lead the depot attack. And this is Minho." A quiet man with glasses and oil-stained hands nodded from behind Sujin. "He builds our weapons and handles our equipment." "You are the sword holder," Sujin said. It was not a question. "Everyone is talking about you. They say you are going to save us all." "I am just trying to save my sister," Taiho replied. Sujin snorted. "Good. Heroes usually get people killed. I prefer practical men." Yoonji raised her hand. "Enough. We have work to do. Taiho, you will come with the depot team. We need to know if the sword can do what people say it can do." "And if it cannot?" Taiho asked. "Then many of us will die tonight. But many of us may die anyway. At least this way, we die fighting." The rest of the day was spent preparing. Minho showed Taiho how to use a radio and gave him a small earpiece. Sujin taught him the basic signals the resistance used in combat. Yoonji went over the plan again and again, until everyone knew their role. As night fell, the attack team gathered near one of the tunnel exits. There were 53 humans in total, armed with whatever weapons they had managed to steal or build. Knives, clubs, a few old guns. It was not much against the minion armor, but it was what they had. Taiho stood at the front, the sword hanging at his side. It had been quiet all day, showing no signs of the power it had displayed at the checkpoint. He was afraid it would stay quiet when they needed it most. Eun-G put a hand on his shoulder. "Do not try to control it. The bonded blades respond to emotion, not thought. When the moment comes, let yourself feel. The sword will do the rest. What if I'm not strong enough?" Taiho asked. "You are. You just do not know it yet." They moved through the tunnels in silence. The only sounds were footsteps and breathing. After an hour, they reached an exit near the depot. Sujin went first, climbing up to check that the way was clear. She waved them forward. The depot was a large building surrounded by a metal fence. Guard towers stood at each corner, manned by Dominion soldiers. Armored vehicles were parked inside, and lights illuminated the entire area. It looked impossible to attack. "Remember the plan," Yoonji whispered. "First team disables the fence. Second team takes the towers. Third team enters the depot and destroys the supplies. We have 15 minutes before reinforcements arrive. Move fast, stay quiet, and do not die." The team split up. Taiho went with the third team, following Sujin toward the main gate. His heart was pounding so hard, he could feel it in his throat. The first team reached the fence and began cutting through the metal. A guard in the nearest tower turned toward the sound. Sujin cursed under her breath. "We are discovered," she said. "Attack now." Everything happened at once. The second team opened fire on the towers. The first team tore through the fence. Alarms began to wail, filling the night with screaming sound. Dominion soldiers poured out of the depot, weapons raised. They were fast and organized. Within seconds, they had formed a defensive line. "We cannot get through," someone shouted. Taeho watched as two resistance fighters fell, hit by Dominion weapons. The energy blast burned through them like they were made of paper. More soldiers were coming from the barracks. The plan was falling apart. Then he saw her. A young woman, barely more than a girl, hiding behind a broken wall. A Dominion soldier was walking toward her, weapon raised. She was crying, too scared to run. Something broke inside Taeho, something old and deep. He did not think. He just moved. The sword came out of its wrapping, and the moment it touched his hand, it began to glow. The light was bright, brighter than the depot lights, brighter than anything Taeho had ever seen. He ran toward the soldier. The alien turned, surprised, and fired its weapon. The blast hit Taeho in the chest. Nothing happened. The energy scattered against an invisible shield around him, disappearing like water hitting stone. The soldier stepped back. Taeho could see fear in its eyes. He swung the sword. The blade cut through the soldier's armor like it was made of cloth. The alien fell without a sound. Taeho did not stop. He kept moving, kept swinging. Every time a soldier tried to shoot him, the blast failed. Every time a soldier tried to block, the sword cut through. He moved faster than he had ever moved in his life. It was like the sword was guiding him, showing him where to go, what to do. The other resistance fighters watched in shock. Then Sujin raised her weapon and shouted, "What are you waiting for?" "Move!" they charged. The battle was over in 10 minutes. With Taeho breaking through the defensive line, the resistance fighters were able to reach the supplies. Minho set charges throughout the depot, while the others held off the remaining soldiers. When the last charge was set, they retreated through the hole in the fence. The depot exploded behind them, sending a column of fire into the sky. They ran through the streets, heading back toward the tunnels. Dominion vehicles were already racing toward the depot, just as Yoonji had predicted. The detention facility would be weakened. The rescue team would have their chance. When they reached the tunnel entrance, Taeho collapsed against the wall. His whole body was shaking. The sword was quiet again. Its glow faded. Sujin sat down beside him. Her face was covered in dirt and blood, but she was smiling. "I take back what I said," she told him. "Maybe heroes are not so bad after all." Taeho could not answer. He could barely breathe. Umji appeared from the darkness, a radio in her hand. "The rescue team is in position. They are entering the facility now. Will they make it?" Taeho asked. "They have to. We just gave them the best chance they will ever have." The minutes passed like hours. Taeho sat in the tunnel, surrounded by exhausted fighters, waiting for news. Some of the people were injured. Minho was treating them with supplies they had stolen from the depot. Finally, the radio crackled. "We have her," a voice said. "We have the sister. We are coming home." Taeho closed his eyes and felt tears running down his face. For the first time in days, he could breathe. An hour later, Yuna appeared at the tunnel entrance. She was thin and pale, with bruises on her face. But she was alive. Taeho ran to her and held her tight. She was crying too, holding on to him like she would never let go. "I thought I lost you," she whispered. "Never," he said. "I will never let that happen." Behind them, the resistance fighters gathered. They had won their first real victory against the Dominion. They had supplies. They had medicine. And they had something even more important. They had hope. Across the city, in the ruins and the slums and the hidden places, humans were talking. They were sharing the story of the scavenger with the glowing sword. They were remembering that their ancestors had once fought back, and some of them were starting to believe they could fight back too. The fire had been lit. Now it just had to spread. 3 days had passed since the depot attack. Una was recovering in the medical area of the underground base, surrounded by other patients who needed care. Even weak and tired, she insisted on helping treat the injured. That was who she was. She could not rest while others suffered. Taiho visited her every few hours, bringing food and water. Each time he came, she looked a little stronger. The bruises on her face were fading. The light was returning to her eyes. "You should not have come for me," she said one evening. "You should have run, left the planet, saved yourself." "I could never do that," Taiho replied. "You are my sister." Una smiled sadly. "And now you are the most wanted man on this world. The Dominion will never stop hunting you. Let them hunt. I am tired of running." She looked at the sword resting against the wall. Since the depot attack, it had remained quiet. No glowing, no warmth, just cold metal and old leather. "What does it feel like?" she asked. "When you use it?" Taiho thought about the question. It was hard to put into words. "It feels like I am not alone. Like there is someone beside me, helping me, guiding me. Like I am finally doing what I was meant to do." "That does not scare you?" "It terrifies me. But being a slave terrified me more." Hyan appeared at the entrance to the medical area. The old historian was carrying a stack of books, as he always did. Knowledge was his weapon, and he never went anywhere without it. "Come," he said to Taiho. "There is something you need to see." Taiho followed him through the underground passages to a room he had not visited before. It was deep in the tunnels, hidden behind a locked door. Inside, the walls were covered with papers, drawings, and maps. Shelves held old artifacts, most of them broken or damaged. "This is my archive," Hyan said. "Everything I have saved from the Dominion's destruction. It is not much, but it is enough." He led Taiho to a large table in the center of the room. On it was spread a map of the galaxy, marked with dozens of symbols. The bonded blades were not just weapons, Hyan explained. They were keys. Each blade was connected to a hidden place, a sanctuary where our ancestors stored their most precious knowledge. When the Dominion betrayed us, the surviving blade holders scattered across the galaxy, hiding their weapons until the time was right. "The time for what?" Taiho asked. "For humanity to rise again." Hyan pointed to a symbol on the map, a small mark near the edge of the galaxy. "Your blade is connected to this location. Somewhere on this planet is a sanctuary, a place where ancient knowledge is hidden. Knowledge the Dominion does not want us to find." "How do you know this?" "Because I have spent my entire life searching for the truth. I found pieces of the story in old records, in forgotten texts, in the memories of elders who died before they could pass on what they knew." He looked at Taiho with fierce determination. "You found the blade for a reason. The sanctuary is calling to you. You need to find it." Taiho felt overwhelmed. A few days ago, he was a scavenger looking for scraps. Now he was supposed to find ancient sanctuaries and save humanity? "I do not know how to do any of this," he admitted. "I am not a warrior. I am not a hero. I am just a man who got lucky." "Luck?" Hyan laughed softly. "There is no luck in this. The blades choose their holders based on what is inside them. Courage, will, the refusal to give up. You have these things, Taiho. You always have. You just never had a reason to use them before." The door opened and Yoonji entered. Behind her came Jiho, a scavenger Taiho had known for years. They had worked together many times, finding things in the ruins and selling them in the market. Jiho was thin and quick, with a face that always seemed to be smiling, even when nothing was funny. "You are alive," Jiho said, grinning. I was sure the Dominion would have killed you by now. They tried, Taiho replied. They were not successful. Jiho's grin faded as he looked at the sword. So it is true. You have one of the old weapons. I thought they were just stories. So did I. Unji moved to the table and looked at the map. Hyan told me about the sanctuary. If there is a chance that ancient knowledge is hidden on this planet, we need to find it. The supplies we took from the depot will not last forever. We need something more if we are going to keep fighting. The problem is finding it, Hyan said. The sanctuary is hidden. The only one who can locate it is the blade holder. The sword will guide him when the time is right. When will the time be right? Taiho asked. I do not know. The texts are not clear, but they say the blade will show the way when the holder is ready. Ready. What did that even mean? Taiho did not feel ready for anything. He felt tired and confused and scared, but he also felt something else. Something new. A small flame burning in his chest, getting stronger every day. The flame of anger. The flame of defiance. He had spent his entire life being told he was nothing. He had spent his entire life believing he was weak. The Dominion had stolen his history, his pride, his future. They had turned his people into slaves and erased everything that made them human. And he was done accepting it. I will find the sanctuary, he said. I do not know how, but I will find it. Yunji nodded. Good. But first, there is something else we need to do. The Dominion is increasing patrols throughout the city. They are arresting anyone suspected of helping the resistance. We need to move our base. Move? Where? There is an old factory complex in the industrial district. It was abandoned years ago when the Dominion shifted production to automated facilities. It has multiple levels, multiple exits, and enough space for all our people. It sounds perfect, Taiho said. What is the problem? Yunji's face darkened. The problem is that a Dominion patrol unit is using part of the complex as a temporary base. We need to drive them out before we can move in. Another attack? A smaller one. 20 people at most. We go in, eliminate the patrol, and secure the complex. She paused. I want you to lead it. Taiho stared at her. Me? I have no experience leading anything. You have the sword. The fighters believe in you. They saw what you did at the depot. When you lead, they will follow. And if I make a mistake, if people die because of my decisions, then we will learn from it and keep going. That is what resistance means. We do not give up just because things go wrong. Taiho thought about her words. He thought about the people who had fought beside him at the depot. He thought about the young woman he had saved from the soldier. He thought about Yuna, recovering in the medical area, still determined to help others, despite everything she had been through. They were all fighting for something. They were all risking their lives. How could he do any less? When do we attack? He asked. Tomorrow night. Rest today. Prepare yourself. And talk to the sword. Talk to it? Yunji smiled slightly. Hyan says the bonded blades have a form of awareness. They can communicate with their holders. Maybe it will tell you something useful. She left, and Taiho was alone in the archive with Hyan. The old man was watching him with gentle eyes. You are afraid? Yes. Good. Fear keeps you careful. It keeps you humble. A warrior without fear is a warrior who dies quickly. He placed a hand on Taiho's shoulder. But do not let fear control you. Feel it. Acknowledge it. Then set it aside and do what must be done. Taiho nodded. He picked up the sword and held it in his hands. It was warm, even though the room was cold. Can you hear me? He asked softly, feeling foolish. The sword did not answer in words, but something shifted in his mind. An image appeared, brief and unclear. A mountain, a cave, a light shining from within, the sanctuary. The sword was showing him the way. It was not time yet. He was not ready. But someday soon, he would find it. For now, he had a battle to prepare for, a patrol to defeat, a complex to secure, one step at a time, one fight at a time. That was how resistance worked. And Taiho was finally ready to resist. The factory complex stood like a sleeping giant in the industrial district. Its tall smokestacks no longer released smoke. Its machines no longer hummed with power. The Dominion had abandoned it years ago when they replaced human workers with robots. Now it was a ghost place, empty and forgotten. Except for the patrol. Taiho lay on a rooftop across the street, watching the complex through a pair of old binoculars. He could see Dominion soldiers moving through the main building, their gray shapes visible through broken windows. There were about 30 of them, more than Yoonji had expected. "We are outnumbered," Sujin whispered beside him. She had insisted on joining the attack. After the depot, she had become one of Taiho's strongest supporters. "We have been outnumbered before," Taiho replied. "True. But last time, we had the element of surprise. This time, they might be expecting us." Minho crawled up to join them. The engineer had brought some of his special creations, small bombs that could be triggered by remote control. "I can place charges at the main entrances. When they explode, the soldiers will be confused. That will give us time to enter." Taiho nodded. It was a good plan. But something felt wrong. The soldiers below were not acting like a normal patrol. They were organized, alert, watching the streets with unusual attention. "They know we are coming?" he said suddenly. Sujin frowned. "How could they know?" "I do not know. But look at them. They are not relaxed. They are waiting for something." The earpiece in his ear crackled. "Taiho, this is Yoonji. We have received word from our contacts. The Dominion has moved reinforcements to the industrial district. They are setting a trap." Taiho's blood went cold. "How many reinforcements?" "At least 100. Maybe more. They are hiding in the buildings around the complex. If you attack, they will surround you." Sujin cursed quietly. "We need to call off the attack. We cannot fight 100 soldiers with 20 people." But Taiho was thinking. The Dominion had set a trap. That meant they were afraid. Afraid of him, afraid of the sword, afraid of what the resistance had become. They would not go to this much trouble unless they were desperate to stop them. And desperate enemies made mistakes. "Onji," he said into the radio, "where exactly are the reinforcements hidden?" There was a pause. "East side of the complex, in the old warehouse. West side, in the underground parking structure. North side, in the office building across the street." "And the south side?" "Nothing. The south side is open. There is just a wall and an old loading dock." Taiho smiled. "Then that is where we go in." He explained his plan quickly. Instead of attacking the main building, they would circle around to the south. They would enter through the loading dock, move through the complex quietly, and eliminate the patrol before the reinforcements knew what was happening. Then they would escape through the same route. "It is risky," Sujin said. "If they spot us, we will be trapped. Then, we need to make sure they do not spot us." Jiho had joined the attack team, despite having no combat experience. He was a scavenger, used to moving unseen through dangerous places. Taiho asked him to lead the way. They moved through the shadows, staying low, making no sound. The streets were empty, the only light coming from the distant glow of the Dominion headquarters on the other side of the city. Every few minutes, a patrol vehicle would pass, its searchlight sweeping the area. Each time, they pressed against walls and waited until it was gone. It took an hour to reach the south side of the complex. The loading dock was exactly as Yoonji had described, a raised platform with metal doors hidden behind a crumbling wall. Minho checked for alarms and found none. They were so busy watching the other sides that they forgot about this one, he whispered. Arrogance, Taiho replied. They think humans are too stupid to find another way. They entered through a broken window beside the loading dock. Inside, the factory was dark and filled with old machinery. Dust covered everything. The air smelled of oil and rust. Taiho drew the sword. Even in the darkness, he could feel its warmth, its presence in his mind. It was alert, aware, ready. They moved through the factory in single file. Jiho led, picking a path through the machines. Behind him came Taiho, then Sujin, then Minho, then the rest of the fighters. No one spoke. No one made a sound. After 10 minutes, they reached the main building. Through a doorway, Taiho could see the Dominion soldiers. They were gathered in what had once been the factory floor, setting up equipment, talking in their alien language. They had no idea that death was walking toward them. Taiho turned to his team. Minho, place your charges near the exits. When I give the signal, trigger them. The explosions will seal them in and create confusion. Then we attack. Minho nodded and slipped away. Sujin checked her weapon. It was a Dominion rifle, taken from a dead soldier at the depot. When this starts, it will be loud. The reinforcements will come running. Then we need to finish fast. Kill the patrol and get out before they arrive. They waited. Every second felt like an hour. Taiho could hear his own heartbeat, loud in the silence. He could feel the sword humming against his palm, eager for the fight. Finally, his earpiece crackled. Charges are set. Taiho took a deep breath. On my mark, 3, 2, 1, now. The explosions were deafening. Fire and smoke erupted from the exits, sending debris flying through the air. The Dominion soldiers screamed in surprise and confusion. Taiho charged. The sword blazed to life, its golden light filling the darkness. He moved faster than thought, cutting through the first soldier before it could raise its weapon. The blade sang as it moved, a high clear note that seemed to echo through the building dot around him. The resistance fighters opened fire. Dominion soldiers fell, caught between the explosions and the attack. They tried to form a defensive line, but Taiho was already among them, breaking their formation, creating chaos. A soldier swung at him with a heavy blade. The sword blocked it easily, then cut through the soldier's armor in a single stroke. Another soldier fired its weapon point blank. The blast hit the invisible shield around Taiho and vanished. Fall back. One of the soldiers shouted in its alien tongue. Fall back to the exits. But the exits were blocked. The charges had collapsed the doorways, trapping them inside. The fight lasted less than 5 minutes. When it was over, every Dominion soldier in the building was dead. Taiho stood in the center of the factory floor, breathing hard. The sword's glow was fading. Around him, the resistance fighters were checking the bodies, collecting weapons, searching for useful supplies. We need to move, Sujin said. The reinforcements will be here soon. As if in answer, Taiho heard the sound of vehicles approaching. Heavy vehicles moving fast. Everyone out. South side, same way we came in. They ran. Behind them, the doors to the main building burst open as Dominion reinforcements poured in. They found only dead bodies and the smell of smoke. By the time they reached the loading dock, sirens were wailing across the industrial district. But it was too late. The resistance fighters vanished into the shadows, slipping through the streets, returning to the tunnels. They had won again. When they reached the base, the other resistance members were waiting. Word had already spread about the attack. People were cheering, crying, embracing each other. Unji was smiling for the first time since Taiho had met her. The complex is ours. We can move tomorrow. What about the reinforcements? Taiho asked. They are still searching the industrial district. By the time they realize what happened, we will be long gone. Yuna appeared from the crowd. She was still weak, but she was on her feet. She ran to Taiho and hugged him tight. "You did it," she whispered. "You actually did it." "We did it," he corrected. "All of us." Hyan approached, his old face glowing with emotion. "This is just the beginning. Every human in the city will hear about tonight. Every human on this planet will know that the Dominion can be beaten." Taiho looked at the sword in his hand. It was quiet now, its work done. But he could feel its satisfaction, its pride. They were changing things. They were making a difference, and somewhere, in the mountains he had seen in his vision, a sanctuary was waiting. He would find it. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon. For now, they had a new base to prepare. A new home to build. The resistance was growing, and the Dominion was beginning to be afraid. High above the planet, in the command ship that orbited among the stars, High Admiral Vorath received the news of another defeat. He was old, even by Dominion standards. His gray skin was darker than most, marked with the patterns of 100 campaigns. His forearms bore the scars of countless battles. He had conquered 17 worlds for the Empire. He had never lost until now. "Explain to me," he said, his voice quiet but dangerous, "how a single human with a piece of ancient metal has destroyed 3 patrol units, liberated a detention facility, and turned our supply depot into ashes." The officer before him trembled. "High Admiral, the blade is unlike anything we have encountered. Our weapons cannot harm the wielder. Our shields cannot stop the blade. It is as if he is protected by some force we cannot measure. I know what the bonded blades can do. I was there during the First War." Vorath stood and walked to the great window that showed the planet below. "We destroyed the blade holders. We eliminated the threat. This should not be possible. Perhaps one blade survived, hidden away until now. Obviously. The question is how we deal with it." Vorath turned back to face the officer. "The humans are becoming bold. They are no longer afraid. If we do not crush this rebellion now, it will spread to other worlds. Other subjugated species will see that we can be defied. The entire empire could be at risk. What do you command, High Admiral?" Vorath was silent for a long moment. Then he made his decision. "I am taking personal command of the ground forces. We will impose full martial law on the capital. Every human will be confined to their districts. Anyone found outside will be executed. Anyone suspected of helping the resistance will be executed. We will tear that city apart until we find this blade holder and destroy him. And if the humans fight back, then we will make them regret it." Down on the planet, in the new underground base beneath the factory complex, Taiho felt a sudden chill run down his spine. He was sitting with Hyan in the old historian's new archive room, studying the ancient texts by lamplight. "Something is wrong," he said. Hyan looked up from his papers. "The sword?" "Yes, it is disturbed, like it senses something dangerous coming." Before Hyan could respond, Yunji burst into the room. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with fear. "The Dominion is locking down the city. High Admiral Vorath has taken command. They are executing people in the streets." Taiho rose to his feet. "Executing? Who?" "Anyone they find. They are making examples. They have blocked all the exits. No one can leave the capital." She paused, her voice breaking. "They are announcing that for every day you remain free, 100 humans will die." The words hit Taiho like a physical blow. 100 people. 100 lives. "Because of him, I have to turn myself in," he said. "No." Yunji grabbed his arm. "That is exactly what they want. If you surrender, they will kill you and keep killing anyway. Vorath is not interested in justice. He wants to make us afraid again. He wants to break us, Then what do? Watch our people die? We fight. We fight harder than we have ever fought before. She met his eyes. We show them that their terror will not work. That every life they take makes us stronger, not weaker. Hyan stood slowly, his old joints creaking. There may be another way. The sanctuary. Taiho turned to him. What do you mean? The bonded blades were connected to more than just their wielders. They were connected to each other. If you can find the sanctuary, you may be able to reach out to other blades across the galaxy. Other humans who might still carry the old weapons. Are there others? I do not know. But the texts say that when one blade awakens, others may feel it. Others may remember. If there are other blade holders out there, they need to know what is happening here. They need to know that the fight has begun again. Taiho closed his eyes and reached out to the sword with his mind. The vision came again, clearer this time. The mountain, the cave, the light within, and something else. A direction. A path. I know where to go, he said. The sanctuary is in the northern mountains. 2 days' travel from here. You cannot leave now, Yunji protested. Vorath has troops everywhere. You would be captured before you made it out of the city. Then help me. Create a distraction. Draw their attention somewhere else while I slip away. Onji was silent for a moment. Then she nodded slowly. We can do that. But it will cost us. People will die. People are already dying. At least this way, their deaths might mean something. Sujin appeared in the doorway. I will go with him. Someone needs to watch his back. I am coming too, Jiho said from behind her. I know the northern routes. I used to scavenge there before the Dominion closed it off. And me, Yuna said, pushing past them to enter the room. She was still thin, still recovering, but her eyes were fierce. Do not try to stop me, brother. Where you go, I go. Taiho wanted to argue. He wanted to protect her, but he knew that look in her eyes. She would follow him whether he agreed or not. Fine, he said. For a people. We travel light and fast. We find the sanctuary and we come back. And if you do not come back? Yunji asked. Then keep fighting. No matter what happens to me, the resistance must continue. The hope we have created must not die. They spent the next day preparing. Minho equipped them with supplies, food, water, medical kits, and a few weapons. Hyan gave Taiho copies of the ancient texts, hoping they might help him understand the sanctuary when he found it. When night fell, the resistance launched its distraction. 50 fighters attacked the Dominion checkpoint on the east side of the city. It was a suicide mission, designed to draw attention. Many would not come back. While the Dominion focused on the attack, Taiho and his small group slipped out through the tunnels. They emerged on the northern edge of the city, in an area of abandoned warehouses and empty streets. The mountains loomed in the distance, dark shapes against the stars. Stay quiet, Jiho whispered. Follow me. They moved through the night, avoiding patrols, hiding when vehicles passed. The going was slow and dangerous. Several times they had to freeze in place, while Dominion soldiers walked within meters of their hiding spots. But luck, or perhaps the sword's guidance, was with them. By dawn, they had reached the foothills of the mountains. We cannot stop here, Sujin said. We need to find shelter before full light. They found a cave among the rocks and made camp inside. They ate a cold meal and took turns sleeping while one person kept watch. Taiho could not sleep. He sat at the cave entrance, watching the sun rise over the mountains. In the distance, he could see the capital city, smoke rising from several locations. The resistance was still fighting. People were still dying. You blame yourself, Yuna said, sitting down beside him. Of course, I blame myself. This all started because of me. Because I found that sword. No, this started 200 years ago when the Dominion conquered our world. You did not create this war. You just gave us a way to fight back. And if we lose? If all this sacrifice is for nothing? Yuna took his hand. Then at least we will have tried. At least we will have shown them who we really are. That matters, brother. Even if we fail, it matters. They rested until evening, then continued their journey. The mountains were steep and difficult, with paths that twisted through narrow valleys and over rocky ridges. Jiho led the way, remembering routes from years ago. On the second day, as they climbed higher, the sword began to glow. "We are close," Taiho said. The glow grew brighter as they walked, guiding them toward a particular peak. As they rounded a cliff face, they saw it, a cave entrance, hidden behind a waterfall. The water fell from high above, crashing into a pool below. The entrance was almost invisible behind the curtain of water. "In there," Taiho said. He could feel the sanctuary calling to him, pulling him forward. They made their way behind the waterfall and entered the cave. The walls were covered with the same symbols that marked the sword. Deeper they went, until they emerged into a vast chamber lit by a soft golden light dot. In the center of the chamber stood a pedestal. On the pedestal was a crystal, glowing with the same light that came from the sword. Taiho approached it slowly. As he drew near, the sword blazed to life, its glow matching the crystal's light. The symbols on the walls began to shine, creating patterns that danced across the stone. Then a voice spoke, not in sound, but directly into his mind. "Welcome, Blade Holder. We have waited long for your return." Taiho fell to his knees, overwhelmed by the presence that filled his thoughts. "Who are you?" he asked. "We are the memory of your ancestors. The knowledge they preserved when all seemed lost. The hope they hid for a time like this. What do you want from me?" "We want you to remember. Remember who your people were. Remember what they can become again. And we want you to send a message across the stars. A message that humanity is waking up." The crystal pulsed, and images flooded Taiho's mind. Images of other worlds, other humans, other blades. Some were rusted and forgotten. Some were lost beyond recovery. But a few still held a spark of light. "Call to them," the voice said. "Let them know that the time has come." Taiho raised the sword and focused his will. He thought of everything humanity had lost, everything they had suffered, everything they could become if they stood together. And he sent that thought out, across the galaxy, to anyone who could hear. The crystal blazed with brilliant light. The walls of the sanctuary shook, and somewhere on distant worlds, other blades began to glow. High Admiral Vorath stood in the central plaza of the capital city. Around him, thousands of Dominion soldiers formed ranks, their weapons ready, their armor gleaming in the sunlight. Above, warships hovered in the sky, their cannons pointed downward. He had lost patience. The distraction attacks, the missing blade holder, the growing unrest among the human population. It was time to end this once and for all. "Begin the bombardment," he ordered. "Destroy the human districts. Leave nothing standing." His officers exchanged nervous glances. "High Admiral, there are millions of humans in those districts. The Empire Council may object to such measures." "The Empire Council is not here." "I am. And I will not let a handful of primitives with old swords threaten the security of the Dominion." He pointed toward the sky. "Give the order." One of the warships began to charge its main cannon. The weapon hummed with terrible energy, preparing to unleash destruction on a scale the city had never seen. In the mountains, Taiho felt it. The sword pulsed with warning, and images flooded his mind. He saw the warships. He saw the charging weapon. He saw the millions of people who were about to die. "We have to go back," he said. Now, Yuna grabbed his arm. Go back? To what? We cannot stop a warship. I have to try. If I do not, everyone will die. Yoonji, Hyan, Minho, everyone. Sujin checked her weapon. He is right. We did not come this far to watch our people burn. Jiho nodded. Lead the way. They ran down the mountain, moving faster than should have been possible. The sword's power flowed through Taiho, strengthening his legs, sharpening his senses. The others struggled to keep up, but they did not fall behind. Thought it took them half a day to reach the city. As they approached, they could see the warship in the sky, its cannon glowing with deadly light. They could hear the panic in the streets, the screams of people who knew death was coming. Taiho did not stop at the edge of the city. He ran straight toward the central plaza, toward the Dominion forces, toward Vorath himself. Taiho. Yoonji's voice crackled through his earpiece. We see you on our scanners. What are you doing? Creating a distraction. Get everyone out of the human districts. Use the tunnels. Go north, toward the mountains. I will give you as much time as I can. You cannot fight an entire army. Watch me. He burst into the plaza, sword blazing with golden light. The Dominion soldiers turned, weapons rising. Vorath saw him and smiled, a cold expression that showed too many teeth. The blade holder. Finally, you come to me. Call off the bombardment, Taiho shouted. This is between us. Leave the civilians alone. Vorath laughed. You are in no position to make demands. You are one man against 10,000. Your blade cannot save you now. He raised his hand and the soldiers opened fire. Hundreds of energy beams streaked toward Taiho, filling the air with deadly light. The sword reacted. The invisible shield around Taiho flared, catching every blast, deflecting every shot. The soldiers fired again and again, but nothing got through. Taiho began to walk forward. The soldiers fell back, their confidence breaking. They had never seen anything like this. Their weapons were useless. Their training meant nothing. Stand your ground. Vorath roared. He's just one human. But the soldiers were afraid. They had seen what the blade could do. They had heard the stories. One by one, they began to retreat. Taiho reached the front lines. His sword cut through the first rank of soldiers like they were made of paper. The blade sang with each swing, a sound that seemed to echo across the entire plaza. Vorath watched his army crumble. His face twisted with rage. Enough! He strode forward, pulling a massive weapon from his back. It was an ancient thing, a relic of the first war against humanity, a weapon designed specifically to kill blade holders. Do you think you are the first human to wield a bonded blade against us? Vorath said. I was there at the end of the last war. I killed the last blade holder myself. And I will kill you the same way. He fired. The blast was different from the soldiers' weapons. It was not energy. It was something else, something that seemed to twist reality itself. The shield around Taiho flickered. He felt pain for the first time since the sword had bonded with him. Real pain, burning through his body. Vorath fired again. And again, Taiho fell to his knees. The sword's glow was dimming. The shield was failing. You see? Vorath said, walking closer. The blades were never invincible. We found their weakness. We used it to destroy your ancestors. And now I will use it to destroy you. He aimed the weapon at Taiho's head, and then Yuna stepped between them. No. Taiho screamed. Vorath laughed and shifted his aim toward her. Touching. A human willing to die for another. How predictable. But Yuna did not move. She stood tall, her thin body blocking the weapon, her eyes fixed on the High Admiral. You think you have won, she said. You think killing him will end this. But you are wrong. You cannot kill hope. You cannot kill what he has started. Around the plaza, something was happening. Humans were emerging from the buildings, from the alleys, from everywhere. Resistance fighters and ordinary citizens, armed with whatever they could find. Sticks, rocks, broken pieces of metal dot. They surrounded the Dominion forces. Thousands of them, more arriving every moment. Kill them all, Vareth shouted at his soldiers. But the soldiers did not move. They were outnumbered. They were surrounded. And they were terrified. Taiho rose to his feet. The sword's glow was returning, fed by the hope and courage of the people around him. He could feel them all, their hearts beating as one, their will combining with his. This is what you never understood, Taiho said. The bonded blades do not give us power. They channel the power that was always there, the power of every human who refuses to kneel. The sword blazed brighter than ever before. The symbols along its blade burned with white fire. Vareth fired his weapon. Taiho caught the blast on his blade and threw it back. The energy struck Vareth's weapon, shattering it into pieces. The High Admiral stumbled backward, his forearms scrambling for balance. Taiho moved. He crossed the distance between them in a heartbeat. The sword came down, cutting through Vareth's armor, through his metals, through everything that made him powerful. The High Admiral fell. Silence filled the plaza. The Dominion soldiers stared at their fallen commander. The humans stared at Taiho, at the glowing sword in his hand. Then someone cheered. And someone else. And then everyone was cheering, screaming, crying, embracing each other. Above them, the warship's cannon powered down. Without Vareth's command, the bombardment would not happen. Taiho looked up at the sky. He thought about the message he had sent from the sanctuary. He thought about the other blades across the galaxy. Awakening after centuries of sleep, he raised the sword high. "We remember who we were," he shouted. His voice carrying across the plaza, broadcast by the Resistance's captured equipment to every corner of the city. Every radio on the planet, every ship in orbit. We remember what our ancestors sacrificed. And we are waking up. The sword pulsed, sending a beam of light into the sky, visible from space, visible from distant worlds. Across the galaxy, humans who had forgotten their heritage looked up. Humans who had lived as slaves felt something stir in their hearts. Humans who had been told they were nothing began to remember that they had once been warriors. And on a dozen worlds, hidden blades began to glow. Valora was not free. Not yet. The Dominion still held the planet. Other admirals would come. Other armies would attack. But the humans were no longer afraid. They had tasted victory. They had seen what they could do when they stood together. Yunji joined Taiho in the plaza, followed by Hyan, Sujin, Minho, Jiho, and thousands of others. They looked at him with hope in their eyes. What now? Yunji asked. Taiho looked at his sister, at his friends, at the people who had fought beside him. Now we finish what we started. We free this world. And then we help free others. Yuna took his hand. Together. Together, Taiho agreed. The sun was setting over the capital city. Tomorrow would bring new battles, new challenges, new sacrifices. The war was far from over, but humanity had remembered who they were. They had stood up when everyone said they should stay down. They had fought when everyone said they should surrender. And the sword that Taiho had tried to return, the sword that had bonded with him against his will, had become the symbol of something. Greater than any weapon. It had become the symbol of hope. The Dominion had ruled for 200 years. Their rule would not last much longer. Humanity was waking up, and when they were finished, the galaxy would never be the same.